Caught my wife cheating with my stepbrother, who had bullied me for years. Then I found out she was sleeping with multiple people too, so I exposed them both at our anniversary dinner after my stepbrother announced their affair in front of everyone. Look, I'll be straight with you. This story is going to mess with your head. 5 years I've been married to Nicole, and I thought we had something real. Met her back in college when I was studying electrical engineering. She was this sweet, traditional girl who'd never really dated much because of her strict family. I was her first serious boyfriend, and damn, I felt like I'd won the lottery. Nicole was everything I thought I wanted, beautiful inside and out, or so I believed. After we graduated, I landed a solid job as an electrician with the local power company here in Fort Worth. Good union job, steady income, the kind of work that builds something. Nicole decided she wanted to stay home, maybe do some part-time cashier work at Walmart and her little makeup side business online. I was fine with that. Hell, I was proud to be the provider. That's what real men do, right? For the longest time, I thought we were living the dream. Nice house in a working neighborhood, my F-150 in the driveway, steady paychecks rolling in. We didn't fight much, had our Friday date nights, and I genuinely believed I was the luckiest guy in Texas. But looking back now, I realize I was so wrapped up in being the perfect husband that I missed every single red flag waving right in front of my face. Earlier this year, everything changed. I was finishing up a maintenance job at the Boeing plant, routine electrical work on their production line, wrapped up about 2 hours early, which doesn't happen often in my line of work. Usually when you're dealing with industrial wiring, something always goes sideways, but not that day. I was feeling good, thinking I'd surprise Nicole, maybe grab some flowers on the way home. I remember pulling into our driveway in my company truck, seeing this beat-up Camaro I didn't recognize parked on the street. Should have been my first clue, but I figured it was one of the neighbor's friends. I'd forgotten my coffee thermos that morning, the big stainless steel one Nicole got me for Christmas, and I needed it for the next day's job. Walking into my own house, the living room looked like a tornado hit it, clothes scattered everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Women's clothes, men's clothes, just thrown around like people couldn't get them off fast enough. Then I heard it, sounds no husband should ever have to hear coming from upstairs. Moaning, unmistakable sounds of pleasure, and it was definitely Nicole's voice. I felt like someone had taken a sledgehammer to my chest. My mind went completely blank, like when you grab a live wire and your whole nervous system just shuts down for a second. I walked up those stairs like a man heading to his own execution, each step heavier than the last. What I saw in my bedroom, in my bed, will be burned into my brain forever. Nicole was there with another man, and not just any man. It was Wade, my stepbrother. The same Wade who'd made my childhood hell, who'd tormented me for years after my mom died and my dad married his mother, Ashley. They were so lost in their own world, they didn't even notice me standing there. The shock hit me like getting electrocuted on a job site. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I turned around, went downstairs, grabbed my overnight bag, and left without making a sound. I didn't know where to go or what to do. The pain was so intense I couldn't think straight. I ended up at Murphy's Tap, the dive bar where all the union guys hang out after shift. Started drinking and didn't stop until the bartender threatened to cut me off. Spent the night at a motel, staring at the ceiling and trying to process what I'd seen. The next day, Nicole called to check in, acting like nothing had happened. Asked what I was up to, so casual you'd think she was discussing the weather. When I asked what she'd done the night before, she said she'd stayed home reading and having some wine. The lie came so easily, no hesitation, no guilt in her voice. It was terrifying how naturally deception flowed from her lips. For the next week, I stayed away from home, called in sick to work, first time in 6 years, and remained at that motel. I kept lying to Nicole, telling her I was still out on an extended job. I wasn't ready to face her, and my mind was spinning like an overloaded circuit. See, the betrayal cut deeper because of my history with Wade. My mom passed when I was 14 after battling cancer. Devastating doesn't begin to cover it. A few years later, Dad met Ashley, a woman who had also lost her partner, and they got married. Ashley brought Wade into our lives, and from day one, that kid made it his mission to destroy mine. Ashley and Wade never wanted me around. They wanted Dad all to themselves, like I was some inconvenient reminder of his past. Wade had never had a father figure, and Ashley felt he deserved all of Dad's attention. She'd constantly exclude me from family events, make me feel like an outsider in my own home. Whenever Wade and I fought, Ashley would twist everything to make me look like the problem. She'd tell Dad I was making Wade feel unwelcome, that I was the one causing issues. Dad, trying to keep his new wife happy, would side with them every time. Led to massive arguments between Dad and me because he never listened to my side. Eventually, Dad forced me into therapy. At first, I resented it, but I found this therapist who actually got it. He didn't just try to fix me, he helped Dad understand what I was going through. When Dad started joining our sessions, that's when things began to change. Dad finally saw how Ashley and Wade had been treating me, and he stopped automatically taking their side. This change infuriated Ashley. She couldn't manipulate Dad anymore, couldn't control the narrative, so she and Wade changed tactics. They started bullying me whenever Dad wasn't around. They'd gang up on me, calling me a motherless child, mocking Dad's relationship with my mom, saying he never really loved her. Wade would boast about being a better son than I'd ever be, desperately trying to win Dad's approval through this sick competition. I couldn't take it anymore, so I moved out as soon as I could, built my own life, got my journeyman electrician license, worked my way up to experienced technician. Dad's proud of me now, which means everything. I've got a position of respect at the power company, good money, solid future. Wade, meanwhile, has been stuck in the same cycle of failure his whole adult life. Working as a mechanic when he could find work, which wasn't often. Always broke, always asking for handouts, always bitter about everyone else's success. And now, I discover he's been sleeping with my wife. Nicole knew everything about my history with Wade and Ashley. She knew how they'd treated me, how they'd tried to destroy my relationship with Dad. Yet she chose to betray me with the one person who'd caused me the most pain growing up. That's what made it unforgivable. After a lot of thinking, I made my decision. I met with a lawyer, discussed divorce options, but I knew I needed protection first. I hired a private investigator to gather evidence. I needed proof, and I needed to be smart about this. For weeks, I pretended everything was normal while this PI followed Nicole around. What he discovered was beyond anything I'd imagined. Nicole wasn't just sleeping with Wade, she was running a whole operation. The PI provided photos and evidence of her with her male gym trainer, and shockingly, with one of her female artist friends too. My wife was living this double life I never suspected, sneaking around with multiple people like it was some kind of game. The betrayal consumed me. I wanted Nicole to feel the same pain, the same humiliation I was carrying. I'd divorce her, but not before making her face consequences for what she'd done. Our wedding anniversary was coming up, and I saw the perfect opportunity. I booked the VFW hall. Nothing fancy, but the right venue for our crowd. Cost me $300, which was reasonable for what we needed. Invited all her family and friends, plus mine. Even Ashley and Wade got invitations. I had everything planned out. Wait until after dinner, then drop the bomb and watch her world crumble. But Wade had other plans. Right in the middle of dinner, that son of a bitch stood up and clinked his glass, making everyone stop and look. For a second, seeing his smirking face, I was ready to lose it completely. He looked like he was about to give some toast to celebrate our 5 years of marriage. "Wow," he said, grinning like he just won the lottery. "Who would have thought you and Nicole would last 5 years? When you first brought her around and introduced her to the family, I thought no way someone like you could keep someone like her. I mean, just look at her. She's way too good for you, man." The guests laughed, probably thinking Wade was just busting my chops like family does. But Nicole's face told a different story. She was furious, frantically gesturing for him to sit down and shut up. She clearly hadn't expected him to pull something like this. Wade wasn't done. He leaned into the moment, his voice getting bolder. "I could never understand how you ended up with Nicole when I always thought it should have been me." He paused, making sure everyone was listening. Then he dropped the bombshell. "For years, I've been trying to get with her. Guess Nicole finally realized I was the better choice, because she's been sleeping with me all this time, bro." The entire VFW hall went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop on the concrete floor. I watched Nicole's face drain of all color. She looked like she was about to collapse. Her mouth was moving, but no words came out. She was completely blindsided. My dad looked back and forth between Wade and me, unsure if this was some sick joke. Wade turned to Nicole and mockingly apologized for revealing their secret, then continued telling everyone how hard it had been keeping quiet, while we pretended to be this happy couple. "You guys act like you're living the dream," Wade sneered, "when she doesn't even love you anymore, dude." He raised his glass in a toast. "She's the best lay I've ever had." Nicole's face turned red with rage. She shouted at Wade to shut up, then turned to me, claiming it was all lies, that Wade was drunk and making things up. People started whispering, looking from Wade to me to Nicole. My dad furiously confronted Wade, demanding answers. Nicole's parents were clearly upset, asking what the hell was going on. That's when I knew it was time. I stood up and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "Well, just to confirm for everyone here, Wade is absolutely telling the truth. He and Nicole have been sleeping together for months now." Dead silence. Nicole's face was pure shock and horror. She thought I had no idea, thought I was still playing the fool, but I wasn't done. "I've known about this affair for weeks, and Wade, just so you know, you're not the only person Nicole's been sleeping with." I watched Wade's smirk disappear as his face fell. He stared at me, then at Nicole, trying to process what I'd just said. "My wife has been involved with not just Wade, but 2 other people. Wade wasn't her only affair partner." Nicole tried desperately to defend herself, shouting that I had no right to defame her, that I was lying and spreading false accusations. She even claimed Wade and I were working together to bring her down. So I pulled out my phone, opened the photos the PI had provided, and started passing it around the room. When Wade saw the pictures, he looked like he was going to break down right there. Nicole went pale, realizing she couldn't escape the truth anymore. Her parents, who'd been confused and angry just moments before, now looked absolutely furious with their daughter. "I organized this anniversary dinner," I announced to the room, "just so I could expose Nicole for the lies and betrayals she's been hiding. I already had divorce papers prepared for tonight, but I'm glad Wade decided to expose himself first." I let the sarcasm drip from my voice. "Thank you, Wade, for showing me exactly how much better I deserve. You made this so much easier." I turned to Nicole and pulled out the divorce papers I'd been carrying. Her eyes widened in disbelief as I handed them over. "Here you go, Nicole. You're a liar and a cheater, and I'm done with you." Wade completely lost it, screaming at Nicole, demanding to know if everything was true. He came up to her shaking and crying, yelling about how she'd promised him he was the only one. It was painful to watch him crumble, but he'd earned every bit of that pain. Nicole fled the scene, her face burning with embarrassment and rage. As she rushed out, she kept shouting about how I'd humiliated her in front of everyone, that I should have given her a chance to explain privately. But there was no explanation that could justify what she'd done. After Nicole ran off, her parents apologized to me, telling me how sorry they were for their daughter's behavior. My dad pulled me aside later, giving me a tight hug and telling me he was disgusted by Wade's actions. I could see the anger in his eyes. Wade was in deep trouble. The aftermath of that night was everything I could have hoped for. Nicole's been hiding at friends' places, too humiliated to show her face around town. In a community like ours, where everyone knows everyone, reputation matters. Word spread fast about what happened at the VFW hall that night. She texts me daily, complaining about how I ruined her life, and that everyone has the wrong impression of her. Her parents are threatening to cut her off if she doesn't make things right with me. But there's nothing to make right. She burned that bridge herself. The funniest part is watching her try to salvage her image. She's been telling people different versions of the story, trying to make herself look like the victim. But when you've got photos and witnesses, lies don't stick. The people who matter, my coworkers, my neighbors, the guys at Murphy's Tap, they all know the truth. Wade's facing his own consequences. Dad cut him off financially, which hit him hard since he'd been relying on handouts for years. He's struggling to make ends rent, bouncing from one friend's couch to another. Ashley's trying to defend him, saying it was just love gone wrong, but even she can't spin this into something innocent. The really pathetic part came when Wade showed up at my house about 2 weeks after the dinner. He had the nerve to blame me for not warning him about Nicole's other affairs before he made his big announcement. Can you believe that? He's mad at me because I didn't tell him my wife was cheating on him too. "You should have told me," he kept saying, standing on my front porch looking like he hadn't slept in days. "I wouldn't have said anything if I'd known she was playing me too." I just laughed. "Wade, you were sleeping with my wife. Why the hell would I warn you about anything? You brought this on yourself." He tried the guilt trip approach, talking about how we're family, how we should stick together. That's when I lost it. Family? You've been nothing but a problem since day one. You made my childhood hell, and now you sleep with my wife. We're not family, Wade. We never were. He actually had the audacity to ask for money. Said he was behind on rent. Couldn't afford groceries. I told him to ask Nicole or his mother for cash. I wasn't his problem anymore. When he wouldn't leave, I threatened to call the cops. He's got a record from some bar fights years back, so that got him moving. The best part of all this is how it changed my relationship with Dad. For the first time in years, he's seeing Wade and Ashley for who they really are. The therapy sessions from years ago finally paid off. Dad remembers what we talked about, and now he's witnessing it firsthand. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner, he told me over beers at my place last weekend. You tried to tell me what they were like, and I didn't listen. I'm proud of how you handled this whole mess. That meant everything to me. Growing up, all I wanted was Dad's approval and support. Now I have it, and it came at the cost of exposing the people who'd been poisoning our family for years. Work's been good too. My supervisor pulled me aside the Monday after the anniversary dinner and told me he'd heard what happened. Word travels fast in our industry. Heard you handled some personal business like a real professional, he said. That takes character, dealing with betrayal the way you did. Shows you've got your priorities straight. A week later, he offered me a promotion to senior technician position. Better pay, more responsibility, leading a small crew on the bigger industrial jobs. The guys at work have been solid too. Blue-collar communities stick together when one of their own gets screwed over. They've seen what Nicole and Wade did, and there's no sympathy for cheaters in our world. These are men who work hard, provide for their families, and believe in loyalty. What Nicole did violated everything we value. You're better off without her, my crew chief told me during lunch break. Woman who'd cheat with family ain't worth the dirt under your boots. You did right exposing her like that. It's funny how different my life looks now compared to a few months ago. Back then, I thought I had it all figured. Out. Stable marriage, nice house, steady routine. I was proud of being the provider, the reliable husband who worked hard and came home to his wife every night. Turns out I was living a lie, and everyone around me could see it except me. The house feels different now. Bigger, somehow. Quieter, but in a good way. I've been fixing things up. Projects I'd been putting off when Nicole was around. Painted the garage, fixed the back deck, upgraded some of the electrical work in the basement. Keeping my hands busy helps process everything that's happened. Nicole's been trying different tactics to get back in. First, it was the victim approach, claiming I'd destroyed her reputation unfairly, that she deserved a chance to explain. When that didn't work, she tried guilt. Reminded me of the good times we'd had, the dreams we'd shared. She even had her mother call me, asking if we couldn't work things out somehow. But here's the thing about betrayal. Once that trust is broken, it's gone forever. You can't unsee what I saw. You can't unfeel that gut punch of discovering the person you loved most in the world was lying to your face every single day. And you sure as hell can't forget that she chose to do it with the one person who'd made your childhood miserable. The divorce proceedings have been straightforward. Having those PI photos made everything clean cut. Nicole tried to fight for alimony, claiming she'd been a supportive wife who deserved compensation. But adultery evidence pretty much killed that argument. Texas isn't a no-fault state when you can prove infidelity, and I had proof in abundance. Her lawyer tried to argue that exposing her publicly was cruel and unnecessary, that it showed vindictive behavior on my part. My lawyer shut that down quick. Your client chose to have multiple affairs, he told them. My client chose to reveal the truth. There's a big difference between vindictive and honest. The house is mine, the savings account is mine, and the 401k stays untouched. Nicole gets to keep her car and whatever personal belongings she can prove she bought. That's about it. When you cheat, you don't get to profit from the betrayal. Wade's life has completely fallen apart. Dad cut him off financially, which was a bigger blow than anyone realized. Turns out Wade had been getting regular loans from Dad for years. Rent money, car payments, even groceries sometimes. Ashley had been covering for him, making excuses about why he always needed help. Now, Ashley's having to face the truth about her son, too. She can't pretend he's just misunderstood anymore. What he did was public, witnessed by dozens of people, recorded on multiple phones. There's no spinning that into something innocent. The really satisfying part is watching their relationship crumble too. Wade blames Ashley for not raising him better, for not preparing him for the real world. Ashley blames Wade for throwing away every opportunity he's been given. They're turning on each other, and Dad's getting a front row seat to the dysfunction he's been living with for years. "I should have listened to you earlier," Dad told me last time we talked. "You tried to tell me what they were like, and I chose to believe their version instead. I'm sorry it took something this extreme for me to see the truth. That apology meant more to me than he'll ever know. For years I felt like I was crazy, like maybe I was the problem in our family. Having Dad finally validate what I had been saying all along was healing in a way I didn't expect. The community response has been exactly what I hoped for. In a working-class neighborhood like ours, reputation matters. People know who you are by how you handle adversity, and they respect someone who stands up for themselves without backing down. The story of what happened at the VFW hall has become local legend. That boy handled his business right," I overheard Mrs. Patterson telling her neighbor. "Didn't get violent, didn't make a scene beforehand, just let them hang themselves and then showed everyone the truth. That's how you deal with betrayal. Even the guys at Murphy's Tap treat me different now. Not with pity, but with respect. They've seen men get destroyed by cheating wives, watched good guys turn bitter and angry. But they also saw how I handled it, methodically, deliberately, with evidence and planning instead of emotion and violence." "You played that perfect," one of the regulars told me. "Kept your cool, gathered your proof, and let them destroy themselves. That takes balls and brains both. The best revenge really is living well. I've got my promotion, my dad's respect, my community's support, and a future that's entirely my own to shape." The divorce was finalized 3 months after that anniversary dinner. Nicole showed up to the courthouse looking like she'd aged 5 years. Her lawyer had advised her to accept the settlement rather than drag things out in court where more evidence might come to light. Smart move on their part. I had plenty more photos if needed. Walking out of that courthouse as a free man felt like stepping into sunlight after being trapped underground. No more lies, no more pretending, no more wondering what Nicole was really doing when she said she was working late or going to the gym. The weight I'd been carrying for months just lifted off my shoulders. Wade made one last desperate attempt to contact me about a month later. He called my work phone, which took some nerve considering everyone there knew the story. My supervisor answered and told him I was busy, but Wade insisted it was a family emergency. "What family emergency?" I asked when I finally took the call. "I'm getting evicted," he said, his voice shaky. "Mom can't help anymore, and Dad won't return my calls. I just need enough for first month's rent somewhere cheaper. I'll pay you back, I swear." The desperation in his voice was almost pathetic. Almost. "Wade, let me explain something to you," I said, keeping my tone level. "You're not my family. You're not my problem. And after what you did, you're not my concern either. Don't call here again." I hung up and went back to work. My supervisor raised an eyebrow, but didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. We both knew Wade had made his bed. That was 6 months ago, and I haven't heard from either of them since. Nicole's moved back in with her parents in Oklahoma, from what I've heard through mutual friends. Word is, she's working at a department store there, trying to rebuild her life away from the reputation she created here in Fort Worth. Wade's bouncing between friends' couches and cheap motels, still working part-time at the auto shop when they need him. Ashley's relationship with Dad has never recovered. She blamed me for destroying her son's life, which Dad didn't appreciate. They're still married, but barely. Dad spends most of his time at my place or out with his old friends. "I wasted years trying to make that work," Dad told me recently over beer and barbecue on my back deck. "Should have seen what you were telling me all along. Sometimes it takes a disaster to show you what really matters. What really matters is the life I'm building now. Got that promotion I mentioned, leading a crew of 4 guys on the industrial jobs. Good money, steady work, and respect from people whose opinions actually count. I'm making $68,000 a year now, which is solid for this area, and there's room to grow. I've been dating again, nothing serious yet, but it's good to remember what normal looks like. Met a teacher named Kelly at a friend's barbecue last month. She's divorced too, understands what betrayal does to your ability to trust. We're taking things slow, which works for both of us. The house is exactly what I want it to be now. Finish that basement project, turned it into a proper workshop where I can do side electrical work on weekends, painted the whole interior, bought furniture that's actually comfortable instead of just looking good. It feels like home for the first time since I moved in. Sometimes people ask if I regret how I handled everything, if I think exposing Nicole and Wade publicly was too harsh, too vindictive. The answer is always no. They made their choices in private, but they affected my life publicly. Everyone who mattered was going to find out eventually anyway. At least this way. They heard the truth from me instead of gossip and speculation. Besides, what was the alternative? Quietly divorce Nicole and let her spin whatever story she wanted about why our marriage failed? Let Wade continue thinking he'd gotten away with betraying family? Let them both move on without facing any real consequences for their actions? That's not justice. That's just enabling bad behavior. The truth is, I sleep better now than I have in years. No more wondering where Nicole really was. When she said she was at work, no more second-guessing my instincts when something felt off, no more walking on eggshells trying to keep everyone happy while they were scheming behind my back. I wake up every morning knowing exactly where I stand. My dad respects me. My coworkers respect me. My community knows I'm a man who handles his business with integrity. And most importantly, I respect myself again. That's worth more than any marriage built on lies, any family relationship built on manipulation, or any peace bought with willful ignorance. Wade thought he was stealing something valuable from me when he seduced Nicole. What he actually did was remove a cancer from my life that I'd been too blind to see. Nicole thought she was playing some sophisticated game, juggling multiple relationships while maintaining her perfect wife image. All she did was expose herself as someone incapable of basic honesty and loyalty. They destroyed themselves. I just made sure everyone got to see it happen. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's letting people show you exactly who they are, documenting it carefully, and then stepping back while they face the natural consequences of their choices. Nicole wanted excitement and variety. Now she's got it. New town, new job, new reputation to build from scratch. Wade wanted what he thought was mine. Now he knows it was never worth having in the first place. And me? I got exactly what I deserved. A clean slate, hard-earned respect, and a future that belongs entirely to me. That's how you win.